I'm Amber.
And I'm Raven.
Hey!
New voice on the podcast. Hello.
So we have a special guest today, Raven. She's here with us to talk about the things and the stuff. How are you, Raven?
All the things, all the stuff. I am doing very, very well. I'm happy to see both of you. How are you guys doing?
You know?
Celeste,
That's
you
okay.
go first
I feel
today.
it.
How is...
No, honestly, I'm good. I'm doing much better than I typically am, so
That's fair.
can't complain.
Yeah, I agree. I am doing a lot better than I'm in a much better place now than I was like 2-3 weeks ago. So...
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm in this weird place where, like, I'm low-key stressed about, like, work and stuff, but everything outside of my life, like, outside of my work life, is going great. So it's like, I feel fine. But then once I open my work laptop, then it's like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So
I'm
true.
the exact
that's so
opposite.
true.
I feel like work is going fine because there ain't nothing going on at work, for me at least, which I'm 100% okay with because I'm trying to work on myself, and it's a long, hard road, but we missed an episode, and that's fine, that'll happen. I was going through some things. I'm okay, it's fine, we just had to take a little break, but it's all right.
Yeah. I think we both needed a break though, because when you texted me, you were like, I don't know if we should record today. I was like, thank you, because I don't know, because I was gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be a mental health check-in part 2,
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Campbell and I have definitely
gosh.
done that
Yeah.
on some weeks.
Yeah.
So Raven has a podcast with Campbell, who has been on this podcast before. It's called Boozicles. And tell us more about it.
It is a very fun podcast. Yeah, so basically it's a podcast that Campbell and I do where we pick a musical each week, and we pick a cocktail to go with that musical, and we basically just get drunk while we talk about it, laugh, joke around. And then at the end, we try to play a piece from the musical with zero practice whatsoever. And then we review ourselves playing, and it's funny because it's never good.
They're constantly arguing.
It's never
That's
good.
good. I like
Constantly
that.
arguing about who
So
was worse.
who was the worst of the bad already?
It's good. I like that idea though. It's really original. Could you give us, Raven, some examples maybe of some pairings that you've done, like which musical with what cocktail?
Yeah, so the first one we ever did was the movie Anastasia, like the 1997 animated film about like Russia and the fall of the Romanov family. And so the drink that we did was called a Red Rasputin, and it was basically like a cherry cola but with vodka. And it was very, very good. And then we did good. Like Sweeney Todd, and we did a drink called a shave and a haircut.
Okay.
So yeah, so we try to always like pair them together very well. Or like there's been a couple times we've like made up our own. Like this couple weeks ago we did, well, it's not going to come out until way after I assume this episode will come out. But we do record Forbidden as well, like the visual album by Todrick Hall. And so the drink we made for that, I actually kind of technically invented it, but we made like a layered rainbow drink where it's like all the colors of the rainbow except purple because I couldn't fit it in. And I had to do like legitimate specific gravity calculations to create the drink. So it was wild. But yeah, it was really cool.
That's impressive. That's great.
Yeah, so it's very fun. You can find it wherever podcasts are found, like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, whatever your favorite medium is.
We'll put that in the show notes just for you guys to look if you forget, because you probably will, because people...
Also, if you would like to continue hearing Celeste's beautiful voice, then definitely listen to the podcast, because she is on our Chicago episode.
I am. That was a really good episode. I mean, it's my favorite episode because I'm on it, obviously. But I had a great time. Like, hopefully I'm on again.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Yeah.
I think you're gonna be on for Mamma Mia.
My like favorite musical of all time. Like,
Looking forward to that.
I'm really excited for that. So yeah, which reminds me I need to rewatch Mamma Mia again. Anyway, so we're gonna get started with our segment, our topic of the week, and today you'll probably already see the title, but today we're gonna talk about not being black enough to be black and like what that means and like our experiences. We're all young black women, professional black women, and I feel like I've talked to Raven about this before, and I feel like I don't think Amber and I have like specifically talked about this, but like I feel like we know, like, and like we have similar.
I was gonna say, I feel like we don't really have to talk about
it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like we don't really have to talk about it because we've probably had very similar experiences.
So, I'm gonna jump into it. It might get a little deep, per usual, but it's fine. It's okay. This is what we're here for. So I got some notes. Because I like doing that type of stuff nowadays. But yeah, okay. So there is this phenomenon where black people who love things adjacent to white culture are just ridiculed for not being black enough to be black. And sometimes we get our quote-unquote black card stripped away from us because, you know, we love top 40 music or Vans, or we don't use African-American vernacular English. And I just want to explore, like, what are the things that happened and how it affected us and kind of, like, where we are today. Because I know for me, at least, there was kind of, like, a transitional period where I started to reject this idea. So my first question, got a series of questions, but my first question is, when and how did you realize being black meant living a different life from others? So for me, I kind of always knew, like, I don't have like one instance where I was like, oh, I'm black and this is gonna be mad different. Like I just always knew, like, my family constantly, they weren't like, you know, being like, oh, being black is hard, but, you know, they were always having like honest conversations with me about just like their life and what they're going through, and they never like really babied me. They like really talked to me as a person, as a child, and I really appreciate in that aspect they did that, those kinds of things. But I think it wasn't until college when I really realized like how different people's mindsets are, and because I think at that point, like, I just wasn't I wasn't aspiring to whiteness or like trying to be accepted by white people. So I like really saw like, oh shit, like this shit is fucked up, and like the way I'm going to live my life and I have lived my life is so different from what other people have. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say like my experience with that. So I guess my first like real experiences with it were very young, but I didn't fully realize the implication of them until very recently, like once I got older. Yeah. So I remember my parents were raised in the South in Mississippi in a small town in like the 70s. So definitely experienced their fair share of prejudice and racism and everything. I, however, was raised in Virginia, in like very middle class, predominantly white area where everyone was fairly well, not necessarily affluent maybe, but like well off. Like, and there wasn't a lot of objective racism, at least that I remember directly experiencing. But like there were definitely a couple points in my life that, especially looking back on them, I was just like, hold up. that probably wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like I would say the first instance I can think of, I remember being in 5th grade and we were reading this book in class. It was like our social studies class. It was like a historical fiction book. And the cover of the book was like a painted like picture, and it had a black character on the front, and the black character like just it like showed his hands, and like his hand, like at the palm of his hand was a different color than the back of his hand, because that's how hands look. And I remember one of the girls in my class, who is a young white girl, she called over the teacher, also white, and was just like, why do his hands look like that? And she turned to me, grabbed my hands and flipped them over and said, that's just what they look like. And at the time I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I was just like, that's weird. You don't know what black people look like? Like, what do you mean? And then I was thinking about that incident a few months ago, and I was just like, hold up. Like no one was weirded out by that. Like no one, like even I as a child, like didn't understand. This is not okay. And it was another thing, like looking around my classroom, like I wasn't the only like minority child in my classroom, but I was the only black one that I can remember. And I had not similar incident, but I remember there was another time when I was around the same age, I played soccer with like a recreational league. And I remember for as long as I can remember, all of the parents on all of my soccer teams always knew my name, even if
that is so true.
Even if I had just started like 2 weeks ago, didn't know any other child's name except their own child, but they always knew my name. And I remember like one time jokingly, I asked my mom, I was like, why do they always know my name? And she was just like, sweetie, it's because you're the only black girl and your name isn't hard to pronounce. and my mom like, wasn't saying it to like be hurtful or mean or anything. Like she was just like, like you're the only black girl. And it was the first time, like I knew I was black and they were white, but like it was the first time I really looked around. It was just like almost everyone in my life except my family and then my church family is white. And I was just like, oh wow, that's okay. Yeah. That's cool. So I would say that was probably like my first experiences with it.
Raven, I feel like you tapped into my childhood for a second, because I'm like really weirded out because I had a lot of similar experiences. But you mentioned kind of noticing things in 5th grade when you're in school, and that brings me to what I noticed when I was in 3rd grade. I think this was the point where I realized I was different than the people I went to school with. And I mean, these kids were the only kids that I interacted with outside of my family. They're, but anyways, I was in 3rd grade, and I met this girl in my class. I will never forget this. So I met this girl in my class named Jordan, and we got along really well. She was this cute little white girl. Like we just had so much in common. We always had fun. Like we would like sit together at lunch, play at recess, all that stuff, like pick each other for partners and everything. So through the first half of the year, pretty much, I was like really close with her. And I remember one day we were just laughing and joking around, and then she was like, oh my gosh, you should come to my house and sleep over. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I'm gonna ask my mom, I'm sure she'll say yes. Like, I'm so excited, whatever. So I get home, and as soon as I see my mom, that's like the first thing I tell her is like, oh, my friend wants me to come over to her house. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure. Just let me know, whatever. It was like earlier in the week. So I guess she was assuming it was going to happen over the weekend. So I come into school the next day, and I'm sitting in class, and then I see my friend Jordan come in, and she doesn't look at anyone. She goes straight to the teacher and hands the teacher a letter. And so the teacher read the letter, and then she looked straight at me, and I was just like I didn't, I thought I was in trouble because she looked right at me, and Jordan looked really sad, and she wouldn't talk to me. I kind of tried to wave to her, and she pretty much ignored me. So the teacher calls me up to her desk, and she's like, hey, I need to move your desk away from Jordan. You can't sit with her. And I was like, what? Like, so I was like, what happened? Like, I got in trouble for talking all the time, but I was like, oh, did I talk too much? I'm so sorry. I won't talk all day, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was just like really thought that it was because we talked too much because we were good friends. But I was like, you know, what did I do? What did I do? She goes, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. You just can't sit with her. I'm sorry. And then she moved me to like the other end of the classroom, basically. And it didn't click until maybe like 5 years ago that that's really what was happening. So it turns out like, yeah, it was crazy because I finally got her to talk to me at lunchtime, and she was like crying, and I'm like, what is going on, right? So she tells me that when she talked to her parents about me coming over, they asked what I looked like, and she told them I had dark skin, and then they said that I couldn't hang out with her anymore. So that was it. I didn't get to speak to her for the rest of the year. It was terrible. Like, how did I think about it? And and this was in the South. I mean, I went to school in Florida. I went to grade school in Florida.
It's Florida.
Yeah. So it's like, right? Ta-da! Yeah, but really, I think that was the first experience I had where I realized that people would treat me different because I didn't look like them. And where I went to school, like this also was kind of something that I think both Raven and Celeste have kind of grown up similarly to me, but I grew up in like a decent area. Like we've always had like, you know, a nice place to live, and my parents have for the most part been, you know, comfortable with money and stuff like that. So we've kind of naturally just always been in these you know, affluent areas where there's majority white people. And so I guess I didn't realize this whole time that I was just going to get treated different anyway because I didn't look like everyone else I went to school with, or, you know. And then, you know, so there's other pieces, but I think that's the main thing that kind of just set the set the tone, I guess, for the rest of my childhood. Yeah.
And what's crazy is that this all happened to us like young. Like,
like off the bat,
like, in like formative, very developmental years where we're supposed to be developing, what is it, like, we're supposed to be developing like what does like relationships and like love looks like, and that gets very much disrupted by shitty people and like white supremacy and like all these just shitty stuff, and it's just like,
and you're at that age where you don't know the why for everything,
and you can't even fathom
so
that.
You take it personally every time.
You don't have the wherewithal. You've been on this earth less than 10 years maybe. Like, you don't have the wherewithal to be like, oh, like, this is a bigger system at play. You're just like, I just want to play with my friend, or I just want to play soccer, or I just want to hang out with my friends, and I can't do that because of things before me. And like, I don't know, it's, for me at least, it like always puts things into perspective of why I give so much grace to Black people and people who are minorities, because this shit starts from a very young age, and it's hard to recognize for a very long time that this shit fucked you up. And then you hit maybe 20, 30, 40, and you're like, damn, now I have to like relearn a lot of things. And it's just hard. It's extremely hard. So.
And it's really interesting to me, especially in this society now, in this time now of around like body image, and body image has been a thing in the media for a long time, but and like the body positivity movement, like all the things happening. And I remember back in especially like middle school and early high school, like a lot of other girls, like I was incredibly insecure about my body type, and just like the shape of my body and the way I looked. And like looking back, like my body was fine, my body was perfect, like there was nothing wrong with it, you know. But it's just like I looked very different than all the other girls around me. Like, we just had different body types, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, I was like one of the only girls that looked like me. And so like, at that time, it's like 11 and 12-year-old children don't have the emotional maturity to be like, oh no, they look like them and I look like me. We're both fine. We're both beautiful. Like, no, it's just like, those are the girls that all the guys consider pretty. I don't look like them, and no guys are talking to me. So what's wrong with me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
That's a whole nother... Yeah, like, the treatment of, like, black girls and, like, the adultification of black girls and how we get treated when we're children is completely disgusting, and a whole deep dive discussion that we could totally have. But yeah, I 100% understand. It's hard to like feel loved and feel pretty when you are not surrounded by people who look like you, and that's why representation matters for yeah. So
absolutely.
And I feel like that actually plays a part in you know, relationships, because I feel like for a lot of girls that look like us, whenever they get any attention from someone that they're, you know, they might not be interested in them, but if they get any attention, it's like, what do you do with that, right? Yeah. So you see all of your peers like dating, and boys are following them around or whatever, and then it's you, or, you know, in my case, like, I'm kind of thinking of myself, like, so when you do have someone pay attention to you like that, you just latch on, like, it doesn't even matter sometimes, because I feel like you're like, oh my god, somebody's interested, and then, you know, I just feel like that it just screws people up from the start, because I think you think you have to take more than you should, because you know, it's kind of like a what else is there sort of thing. That's just kind of how I feel, and of course not everybody is like this, but I think it certainly plays a part in, you know, how people get into relationships, and sometimes even why they stay in relationships that aren't right for them.
Yeah, and I think also, like, even just, like, it kind of goes back into, like, a whole circle, because then you're having this mindset of, okay, well, the girls that look like me aren't getting any attention, or they're getting the wrong kind of attention, and the girls that look like them are getting the type of attention that I want, so I'm going to try to be like them, and I'm going to, like, do whatever I can to, like, be a part of that community, and
that's true.
You're never going to be, like, you can be, like, you might be friends with them, and they might accept you, and, like, all the other stuff, but, like, at the end of the day, you are different people, and you, a lot of times, come from different backgrounds, and there's nothing wrong with that, but trying so hard to be a part of that, a community that you're not really a part of, and then you're penalized by your own group of people by being told that you're too white. So it's just like, that's great.
That is the circle. Yep, that's the circle for sure.
So my next question is, when did people start to tokenize you? So
okay.
Yes.
So this is where we're going.
So, if you don't know what
I'm gonna stay quiet
means, it pretty much means that you tend to be like the only minority in a group of white people, like in very like layman terms,
like the designated, colored friend, person of color.
Yeah. So for,
I'll stay quiet.
Well, you're gonna have to talk. But for me, it started in middle school. I got also like middle school is like that time where like you really start ramping up in the hormones and stuff, and the, you know,
everything is 80 times more difficult once you turn 12.
Yeah. So I got a lot of the "you're pretty for a black girl."
Oh my gosh. Don't, Celeste, you are triggering me right now. I feel triggered.
I'm triggered.
I got a lot of that. It was also like, LOL, I wrote this in, but it's also the time I was like, It's also when I became attracted to white boys. LOL.
Yep.
Guilty.
Amber. Anyway, um, so I'm about to get real raw, but at that time, like a reminder, I was a child, but at that time, like being a token made me feel good. Like I felt like it was like a false sense of security, like, oh, like I'm sheltered from the racism. Um, but I wasn't, like, at all. Like it just made me feel, I was like, oh, I'm accepted by these white people. Like they call me their friend, but I was the token, like I was. Um, I also felt like black kids didn't accept me because they thought that I thought I was better than them. And honestly, looking back, I think in some respects I did feel that way. Because, you know, I was just more accepted by white kids. But like I truly wanted to also be friends with black kids and like other black people, because they just seemed really cool. And a lot of my reasons and like thoughts and like around being like, oh, being a token was very much like, was like rooted in classism and internalized racism. I have a lot of, I have family, I don't want to say, I don't know, it's a lot, but I do have family members that are classist. So I grew up with the same mentality. Yeah. I grew up, you know, thinking about like, oh, like you need to be the proper black person. You shouldn't be using av. You shouldn't be saying the N slur. You shouldn't be doing this, that, and the third. Yep. You shouldn't be wearing your hair relaxed. You should dress a certain way. You can't go outside looking ghetto and da 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 whatever, and just like looking down on black people. And it's just, and I don't know, it just, I stopped. I was that person in middle school and in high school, and it was just, and I definitely was proud to be tokenized. Like I was proud to be the only black person. I was, but also like I was a child, so I didn't know better, and I didn't understand like the impact that they had on like my mental, and I didn't understand, you know, the fact that I was honestly like hating myself. I hated myself. And that's a dark and scary and crazy place to be. So yeah. And like also at this time, and also I was so removed. My life was different from a lot of the black kids I went to school with. I didn't live in the hood. I didn't live in subsidized housing. So I didn't know what it was like to live that life and like what stressors and issues that they were going through. And then also, you know, I had family who was classist, so I'm also just as bad as the white people. Like, oh, you just need to do better, like you just need to da 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 da, you need to pull yourself up, blah 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 blah, whatever. And it's like, it's a whole system that like got us here. And yeah, some of us made it out of the hood, but like that doesn't mean that we get to leave those people behind. Like, and yeah, so yeah, I was definitely, middle school was definitely when I started getting tokenized, and I was in it. It was bad. Yeah. Yep. How about y'all?
Well, I was gonna say, first of all, I appreciate your honesty with all that, because 100%. I don't know if I could have admitted any of what you just admitted, because honestly, it still kind of ties into the question. So in my experience, I felt like similarly to you, it's kind of started in middle school, but I always felt like because I was the token black friend or the token black girl, you know, whatever, I had to try so much harder than everyone else to come off as okay. Like, that's why I was really like super self-loathing. Like, like I remember I won class clown in high school, like senior year, superlatives and all that crap they put in the yearbook. I won class clown, and when they um gave me the award, I was like, what the fuck did I do for this? Like I just would make fun of myself or like cause situations in class that would, try to make people laugh and accept me. Like I wanted everyone to like me, so I put myself down and, got myself in trouble over and over again to do that. But apart from that, it was really like I felt like if I acted like the people I wanted to be friends with, it would be, easier for me to stay friends with them and be close to them, whatever. But then on the other side of things, like what you were saying, Celeste, there were all the other black kids in the school. And granted, like where I went to school, like middle school through high school, there really wasn't a lot of black kids. But typically, the majority of the black kids that were at the school were bussed in from underserved areas, or the way my county was, we had specialty schools, so you could apply and get transferred across the county to a totally different school. And that's what a lot of people did that didn't, they wanted to go to like a tech school or culinary school or whatever, but they didn't live in the right area, quote unquote. So so a lot of kids were bussed in, and a lot of those kids didn't act like me, because they didn't grow up like I did. But I felt like I caught myself a lot, especially in middle school and like early high school. I caught myself a lot changing the way how I spoke to people depending on who I was speaking to. So if I was speaking to mostly white kids, I would talk like I am probably now, switching. But if I was talking to the black kids, I would, cut the words short. I'd add in some slang, like totally unintentionally. I'm not like sitting there like, with my hands on my face, like trying hard to think about this, but it just was like, that's what I felt like I had to do to fit in with everybody. And yeah, it definitely created, like you said, it created a situation where I felt like I felt like I wasn't a good person, and because I was fake, but really I was trying so hard to not be the problem person. I just wanted to be the funny person and the dependable and, that person. I wanted to be that person. I didn't want to be the outcast, but it kind of like it didn't work that way anyway. So
yeah, I would say for me, Celeste, I think my experience was very similar to yours. I would say I definitely started having that experience in middle school because my family, I don't think my parents necessarily were classes, but they definitely were working very hard to get out of the situation that they were raised in, and to help their children get to an even better situation that they found themselves in. And so my parents put a lot of emphasis on being educated, having a strong vocabulary, speaking properly, being articulate, enunciating, like all that types of things to sound intelligent, to sound smart. And so if I had a quarter for every time a white person said to me, "Oh my gosh, you're so articulate."
Talk about triggered.
Yep.
And then I would get around like other black kids, or sometimes in some cases my own extended family members, and they would be like, "Raven, you talk white." And so I felt rejected by black people and accepted by white people. And I was like, well, I like the fact that they accept me. I like the fact that they think I'm smart, that they think I'm articulate, and like all this other stuff. And so I found myself, like, even though I wanted to fit in with the few black kids that were at my school, I constantly felt rejected by them. So then I started distancing myself from them and hanging out primarily with other white students and white people and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where by that point, I was aware of the fact that I was different from them, and I hated that. So it was like, it got to a point where like I remember thinking like, I wish I wasn't black. Like I wish I was white. Like I just want to be white, And so like having that mindset and then like growing up with that whole idea of, because I guess it was the idea of I want to sound smart. Like I don't want to have to make myself not necessarily sound dumb, because I hate that that's how like slang and ebonics and like all that stuff is considered. But I was like, if talking intelligently is talking white or like not black, then I don't want to be black. Like I want to speak the way I speak and be accepted for who I am. And so I would definitely say like that was the time where I started pretty much only really hanging out with white people or like at least non-black people, and really distancing myself from honestly my own like racial identity and everything. And it felt like really weird at first, and then I kind of got used to it. And then by high school, I didn't really know how to hang out with black people. Like the high school that I ended up going to, because Amber, like my city also had like specialty schools and specialty programs. So I went to a high school that wasn't in the neighborhood that was districted for. So the high school that I ended up going to was predominantly black. And I remember getting there and being like, I don't know how to talk to you guys. Like, I don't know how to hang out with you. Like, and I did actually end up like getting a few more black friends and like hanging out with them and stuff like that. And I remember for the longest time I felt, even though they were super nice and they accepted me and everything like that, and none of them were ever like, Raven, you're not black enough. There were a couple times, but it was more of like, oh, you haven't, like, what do you mean you haven't seen like Boys in the Hood? What do you mean you haven't seen?
That's like
all these different things. But
or you would make you would make some reference and they'd be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, like I would pull up like a country song and they'd be like, Raven, what is this?
I don't even listen to country,
but it was never a jab at like the way I talked or the way I dressed, like anything like that. And so like after that, like I started getting a little more comfortable, and like eventually I started kind of finding myself a little more. But it still wasn't until very recently that I really broke away from that and really learned to love the fact that I'm black and love me for who I am, like all that stuff. And I think it's wild. Like we've been saying this the whole time, I think it's wild that those ideals like were impressed upon me at the age of like 11.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Whew, that was a good question though.
I think because like I think about it a lot. Also, like we're young, so like me being like middle school in relative to my life wasn't that long ago, but
feels like it.
But like I think also because like I've been doing a lot of reflection in the past year, 2 years, so I have been reflecting a lot on my life, and yeah, that always, that I think that will always like stay with me, like me being in those places where so you guys talked about your schools, but like I didn't really talk about my school, but my middle school was a magnet school, so you had to apply to get in, and anyone from all over the city could go to that school, but you had to apply and you had to be accepted to get in. And so it was like a mixed bag of kids, and it was kids from like all over the city. And then in high school, like, well, the city I lived in was predominantly black, so my high school was a mix because we had the IB program, so you know kids had to apply to that and stuff like that. So there were a lot more. There were a lot more white kids than normal in our school. So yeah, I mostly hung out with white people or white kids, like, cause yeah, like you said, like I felt that those were the people that were accepting me. And I also always feel like, I don't know, for me and the people, like my family, like when you were talking about like your family talking about like the way you speak, like, oh, you talk white and stuff, that shit triggers me so fucking bad. Like I hate that shit so much. I'm just like, I can't control like the sound of my voice. Like this is the way I talk. Like this is the way y'all taught me how to talk. And then now I'm the one who's trying to be white. What is this mess? Like I just literally, like, what do you want from me? I am a child. So yeah, but yeah, so relatable. Oh man. Well, I have another deep question. Raven did kind of touch on this though, but my next question is, did you hate being black?
I knew you were gonna ask this.
So mine is a yes and no question. Yes and no. At some point, definitely in middle school and in high school, I wished I wasn't, because I felt like my life would be easier. But I also feel like all Black people go through that because white supremacy, yay. So, but I did have a lot of Black female role models in my life that supported me and like pushed me to love myself. So I didn't really fully hate being Black. I think it was just all the systems at play that made me feel that way. But there was an experience that I will never forget this ever. I think because it was the like visceral feeling I had in my body when this happened. But this was in high school. I don't remember if it was like junior or senior year. But I think at that time I had dated a couple white guys, whatever. And there is this black kid, black guy, and he was like the epitome of a token. And like he wore Vans, he skateboarded, he only hung out with white people. He had like braided his hair so it would like swoop, like like
what?
Like it was just like braids, but his braids would like swoop.
That is
and
dedication.
Then he would, like, do the swoop thing, a la Justin Bieber.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He did the hair flip and all that.
He like always talked down about like Black people. And like I don't know, like I never like was like friends with him or like knew him or anything, but we had like similar-ish friends, so like he was kind of around sometimes. And then one time we were at lunch and he was at our lunch table or something, and he just started talking like mad shit about Black people, and I was just like, what is wrong with him? Like, what is wrong with you? And now I'm like realizing it was a fucking mirror. Like, he was literally a mirror right in front of me. And I realized like how fucking insane like all of that shit is. And like I realized, I was like, I remember thinking in my head, I was like, I don't hate myself that much. Like I don't hate myself that much for me to hate on Blackness. Like I just like, I don't know if it was like divine intervention. I don't know what it was, but he was like a literal mirror sitting in front of me, and I was like, this shit is fucked up. I was like, yeah, no, this is a turning point. Like, nope, I'm not about this. Nope, I rebuke this in the name of Jesus. No, thank you. I don't want any parts of this at all. So yeah, I was just like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was my turning point. But yeah, like I think at some point, because of the world and society we live in, I think it's inevitable to internalize and like hate yourself, especially as people of color and Black people. But I don't want it to be normalized anymore. It's not okay. Like, you shouldn't hate yourself. And yeah, that was my experience. But yeah, that was crazy. I'm gonna bleep that out, but I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, we can say that now? No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying that. That's all you. Yeah, he just sounds a little loopy. Wonder how he's doing.
You know what? I hope for his sake, I hope for clarity and peace and grace, because boy, did he need it. God, yeah. Yeah.
I will say for my part, during like around that same time period, like middle school, honestly almost through high school, I would say my first kind of turning point was like right when I started college, like right at the beginning of starting college. But I would say for like middle school and high school, I don't know necessarily that I hated Blackness, but I definitely wished I was white. like I definitely wished I like wasn't Black. And well, also I can't say that I didn't hate Blackness, because I remember like I would say, which I'm like looking back at it, I'm just like, I needed therapy, honestly. I feel like all Black people need therapy. All people need therapy, but I feel like all Black people in America need therapy. But like, I remember I would say things like, oh, like, I don't hate Black, like, I don't dislike Black people. I just like don't like ghetto Black people. And like, I would say like little like things like that. And they would just be like, and like now looking back on it, it's just like, again, just like my own ignorance. Like, once again, of like not understanding the situation and not understanding the big picture and not understanding all the different things that people of all different backgrounds go through, and all the things that contribute to your socioeconomic standing and your behavior and the clothing that you have and the way you speak and like all these different things. Like, there's no one factor that means that you are smart or dumb or good or bad or like any of these other things. So, but like I remember being young and just being like, I enjoyed, like, I loved my family. I loved the traditions that we had. I loved our culture, and I loved my church, and I loved like all the different things I experienced with my family and the other Black people in my life. But when I would go to school and like go around my friends, which was the majority of my experience as a child, I remember just being like, I would be so much prettier if I was white, or like I would be like whatever, like I would just wish, you know. And I remember for a long time I like hated my natural hair. I only like, I wore relaxers up until about like 6th grade, and then my sister went natural, and then my mom was just like, okay, Raven, you and me, we're going natural, we're doing this. And I'm so glad that she did. But I remember for the longest time I would just constantly straighten my hair. Like, the second I washed it, I immediately dried it, I immediately blow dried it, and I immediately straightened it. Like, I never wanted to see it. If it was frizzy, I would immediately take another straightener to it. I would not go out in the rain, I would not do anything. It had to be pin straight at all times. And I remember I hated, like, I remember there was one time, like, it wasn't even frizzy or, like, curly or anything. It just had more volume than I normally liked it to. And my mom was just like, no, it's pretty. Like, it's beautiful. Like, you have volume to your hair for once in, like, 5 years. And I was just like, I don't like it. You need to flat iron it again. And I remember my freshman year, like move-in day of freshman year, I remember, like, I had my natural hair because I think I'd worn it natural for the first time like a couple weeks prior or something, because it's like the end of my senior year, I went to a hairstylist to get like something done to my hair for some event, and I ended up getting it straightened and like styled and everything. But while it was natural, my hairstylist was Black, and there was another woman at the salon that was also Black, and both of them were like in awe of my natural hair, which it was healthier at the time than it is now, but both of them were just like, oh my god, like, your natural hair is beautiful, it's gorgeous, like, I wish my hair looked like that with just washing it and conditioning it. And I remember thinking about it and being like, do people like this? Like, do people think this looks pretty? And then like later that summer, I wore it like that to a baseball game, and my mom had taken a picture of me and my sisters and posted it on her Facebook, and a whole bunch of people, including like friends, like some of my friends from school, were just like, you look gorgeous, like, I love this, like, you should wear your hair like this more often. And that was the turning point where I was just like, oh, maybe I can like be Black and like not wear my hair pinned straight at all times. And so like that was when I started getting to like wearing my natural hair and everything, and now I love it. Like, now, like, I've maybe straightened my hair 3 times in the past like 2 years. Wow. So
yeah, that's wild. More than me.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, yeah.
That again, I feel like is another window into my own life, because I feel like I didn't start truly accepting 100% who I was until recently, like very, very recently, maybe 2 years ago. Like right when I was finishing up school, I think, right when I was finishing up school, I was like, all right, it's enough. That's enough. Like, because I was exhausting myself by like thinking of all these other, you know, things that I could be or look like or whatever, you know, like I always wanted like super long straight hair, like Raven was talking about. Like, I did the same thing. I would burn the hell out of my hair every day unless my mom, you know, had put it in braids for me, because Celeste and I have talked about this before, but I have extremely tender headedness. So it makes it very difficult for me to trust other people with my hair. So I just would tell my mom, like, if it wasn't relaxed and styled, it was in braids and like individual braids, so it would lay flat and, you know, loose like white girl hair and stuff. But, you know, now obviously I wear my hair natural now, but I think it took for me to realize that, like, I think that the hair was the last thing that was holding me back. I truly do think it was that, because I don't know, I think that was, I had like some resentment maybe over having this hair that I have, because I'm like, it's hard to deal with. I'm tender-headed. This isn't normal. Like, it's, you know, hard to comb through stuff. If I wash it, it just absorbs it, like, you know, or doesn't do anything, and it puffs up. And I just was, every time I had to deal with my hair, I was just really stressed and really frustrated. And so I think it took for me to accept that this is the hair that I have, and I should at least take better care of it to, you know, I guess see its potential and, you know, actually have it look decent. Like, I think it was until I started doing that that I just, you know, after that I finally like felt like comfortable being black, I think.
Yeah.
And even now, just recently, just this year, I've started wearing it like natural with nothing, like no crochet braids, no extensions, like nothing else. And it's been really good. Like, it's been a good experience to get to know my hair. I think that was just something that I've been putting off, because I felt like that was like my hair, like having it, you know, pressed or in individual braids that would lay, you know, I could style it and like put it up in a bun or wear it down or whatever. I feel like that was like my one thing that let me feel like I had what the white girls had, you know. I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about, but yeah, I think that's it. I think the hair was like the last thing for me to realize that it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine now, and I do definitely feel more comfortable now. That's for sure.
So. Yeah, and I will say, like, for my part, I also do attribute a lot of my like self-acceptance to my mother, because like my mom, I say all the time, she's an angel, and I love her beyond death. Like, she's amazing. And like my mom, like I said, like up until my early middle school years, my mom would also wear her hair like relaxed and like pressed and stuff like that. And there's still like a lot of people that enjoy wearing their hair like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, of course.
But also seeing my mom like be an unapologetic black woman, like seeing her wear like the colors and the clothing and the jewelry and her hair the way she wanted to be, and she was still like my mom's like a little bougie, but she's respected by other professionals in her industry. She's respected by the other people, black, white, and any other race, like, that know her. Everyone like loves her. She's a wonderful woman. And so seeing her be that vibrant, beautiful black woman, and not only myself loving and respecting her, but seeing everyone in her life love and respect her, I think also helped me learn to accept myself more, because I would be like, well, if I can be anything like her, obviously people will still like that and people will still respect that. So I do attribute a lot of that to her.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I would say it honestly took me until like college to really like start like standing up for myself and like creating like boundaries on like really just like becoming like the person I am like today, like the person who, you know, consistently fights for anti-racism and all that stuff. And I agree. I just started to refuse the token trope, to refuse like the bullshit, because I was tired. I think I was just tired, and I was just tired and I just wanted to learn to love myself. And I think that it's kind of like a turning point in like my life in general. And I do remember like in in the beginning of college. I do remember like kind of getting the "you're not black" thing, and I would look at people like, okay, I'm not black, okay. And like and they stopped, like they totally stopped, and I felt empowered by that. I was like, yes, like this is what I should have been. I wish I had done this a long time ago. And I was doing it for middle school and high school Celeste, like the person who like didn't realize all of those things and like realize like the situation that she was in. And so yeah, I stopped taking bullshit from people. And I mean, I wasn't taking bullshit from people back then, but like I was most definitely not taking bullshit from people in college. So yeah, and yeah, I don't know. I just trailed off. It's fine. but like I also will say it's kind of weird to like look at like all the things that I went through in middle school and high school, and then now be in the world that we live in 2020 with all the like protesting and the anti-racism and all that stuff, and it's just like, god damn, like,
yeah,
I don't know, it just feels weird. It's like this, I had to go through all this shit, and now people are starting to realize that it was fucked up. Like, that's just, yeah, I don't know, it's just like it was just like a weird thought to me recently, and I was like, man, but yeah.
I was thinking that too, because I like watching YouTube channels of people that just totally dismantle someone else's whatever they're doing. Like, there's a guy, I think you follow him, Celeste, D'Angelo Wallace.
D'Angelo,
maybe?
He's like
yes, okay,
yeah. Brother
I've seen
that I wish
he,
I had.
Raven, okay, right. So
the one I do have.
I know he's the best. For those who don't, for those who don't know his channel, he's on YouTube. He has a couple channels. He does video essays,
a commentary,
and he does them really, really well. He's right. It's commentary, but the way that he researches,
they're like professional
films
it's
stuff.
amazing.
It's top quality stuff. Yeah, he's very well spoken. I think he's 21-year-old black man, and he's just a smart dude, and he'll be totally brutally honest about his opinion on certain things. But the point I was trying to make was he was talking about Shane Dawson, and this is the other thing too. His videos are they're not 10 minutes long. They're like 40
I think his
minutes,
Shane
30
Dawson
minutes, an hour,
almost 2 hours long. I think it's over an hour long. It's like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, I sat there and watched the entire thing because that's how good he is.
I watched the whole thing.
I watched the entire thing because that's how good he is.
I watched the whole series.
It's a 3-part series.
It's like a multi-part series, but
the Shane Dawson one, that one is the longest one, and it's good.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, so the reason why I bring that up is because he basically decided to pick through all of Shane Dawson's content. Shane Dawson, for those who might not also know him, is was one of the top YouTubers like ever. Like, well, they dismantled his channel basically. But YouTube isn't supporting him anymore. He can't make money from his videos.
Sponsorships and stuff like that.
At least not right now.
I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways, he's one of those OG YouTubers who's been around since like 2006, 2007 when the site was just gaining popularity. He's been making content for all these years, and everything has kind of come up and caught up to him and hit ahead. And one of the pieces among so much incriminating shit that this man has done, D'Angelo called out his use of blackface in his videos. And so back to what Celeste was saying, I'm making this whole roundabout point to say, Celeste was like, it seems like people are just now realizing how fucked up some of the shit they do is. And blackface is like, to me, that shit pisses me off, because like, how do you have this these like a chain of videos sitting on the internet for a decade, and nobody calls you out enough to the point where you think, okay, maybe I should reevaluate. Why
Yeah.
did I do that? Or I should apologize to someone, or at least take the video down, right? No, the reason why he has all this footage is because it still exists on the internet, because he's let it happen and just sit and fester for a decade. And so now you're pulling up all this stuff where you have a whole video series on these characters that you play or portray, and you just smear the darkest makeup you can find all over your face and change up the way you talk. You go from talking like this random white dude to talking like Leroy from down the block. Like, it's just, I hate that shit. But it's like you said, Celeste, it's like people are just now finally realizing that some of this shit is fucked up. A lot of this shit is fucked up. And I don't know about y'all, but I want my reparations.
Yeah, and like my thing, for real, and my thing with things like, my thing with things like blackface is two things. One, why? Like I've never understood even the desire. Like forget, don't forget, but like forget the racist part of it. Forget like everything about it, but just like, why do you have the desire to do that in the first place for any race?
People want to play these ridiculous, obnoxious characters, and they can't seem to do it unless you know for sure that they're playing a black person, because they can talk like a black person, but unless they paint their pale skin to look closer to ours, you're not gonna get the joke, right?
Yeah,
like that's what all I see with that crap.
And my thing is, I feel like with a lot of internet content, especially YouTube content, I feel like the internet content creator community went through a phase where they equated shocking or offensive with funny. And
that is exactly the point that motherfucker tried to make. That was exactly what he tried to say.
I enjoy dark humor. I like dark humor. And I know that some of the jokes I find funny, some people find offensive. Like, we've had conversations about it with some of my friends. But I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, it's shocking, therefore it's funny. And that's not true. Like, there are some things where it's like, I might laugh out of like nervousness or something, out of like at something that's shocking, but that doesn't mean that it's funny.
Yeah, but that's crazy. That's the exact point that because this is the other thing that D'Angelo was talking about. It's like he goes through these cycles where it's like every few years something happens, he gets called out, and he makes this lame apology video. It's like the same thing every time.
He took back one of them.
I'm not even surprised. But when I watched a clip from one of his apology videos, and he was like, well, back when I was making these videos, that kind of humor, it's supposed to shock people, and that's funny. That's supposed to be funny. I'm not saying what I did was funny, but that's what I was thinking, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, just stop. Because it's like all this other crap that comes up in relation to him is... that man gives me a headache. But that's
Yeah.
Okay, anyways.
I agree with all of those points. D'Angelo Wallace, he's great. I love his channel so much. He hit 1 million subscribers, and I was...
His channel is blown
So he
up.
did a video on Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, and Tati Westbrook, because there was a whole beauty community drama get-in thing that happened last year. But it was like... we don't have to go into it, because they ain't got nothing to do with us. But... yeah, he hit it, but those videos have like millions of views, and they're like over an hour long, each of them.
Yes. And
he hit like 1 million subscribers, so shout out to him. Like, we'll put a link up to his channel in the show notes. But yeah, he's great. He's amazing. Not the people he talks about because they suck, but yeah, like, yeah, it's very. So my last question to wrap it up is how are you now? Like, how are you doing now, coming from, you know, all the things that you went through, especially racially and everything that we've been talking about, throughout your childhood and stuff like that. And we're all pretty young. Well, Raven's younger than us, but we're all in our 20s. And but I will say now I love being Black more than ever. Like I that came with a lot of healing though, and a lot of other, like, I have depression and anxiety, so between like dealing with that, I started to unpack a lot of things, and this topic is a part of that. I at a certain point, I think especially in college, I started to like really venture out and like try to make different friends and put myself in different spaces, even though I was in an organization that is mostly white, but I also was in other organizations that that were more mixed, and I had a mix. So now like I have a mixed group of friends. Like honestly, I think I have like truly like 2 or 3 white friends, to be totally, like, if I'm gonna be totally honest. Yeah, probably. Like it's definitely like flipped for me. But yeah, I do have like a lot more healing and unlearning to do, but I definitely feel like I'm like in a better place because, you know, being the token or being classist or any of those things, like it doesn't serve a purpose for me in my life. And you know, don't I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to extend grace to my people. I'm part of the Black community. The Black community is not a monolith. We are clearly all not the same, and we also should all appreciate all the things that we bring to the table, whether you live in the hood or you live, you know, in a mansion and you're Black. Like it doesn't matter. Like we all don't benefit from the same system. So yeah. And also like we will not be free until all of us are free. I'm going to repeat that. We will not be free until all of us are free. That means the quote-unquote Black people that you don't like, or the quote-unquote Black people that you don't agree with or whatever. Like, all of us got to be free before we actually find freedom. And also, just like small end note, also like some of you Black people specifically, actually don't want freedom. Y'all just want access to white privilege because you hate yourself. So there's that.
Facts.
But yeah, but yeah. So how are y'all doing now?
I'll keep mine short and sweet. But I'd say overall, like I was saying, you know, with the last question, it's recent, but I do feel I feel more comfortable being myself. Now, with that being said, there is one thing that I just have on my mind constantly, and it really has to do with everything that's been happening with protests and, you know, just things that have just been happening, especially this year. I just want to like know. I just want to know there's countries in the world where if I were to travel there, people see me as American first and not Black first, because I think I've just noticed that. I mean, I've gone to a couple places where I feel like very comfortable, but I also feel like I don't know. I just want to blend in, but not in the way that you really think. Like I just want to not bring any attention to myself, like because I look different than the people around me. But if I were to like let's say I was sitting in a bar in some other country, no one would even pay attention to me until I open my mouth to order a drink. They're like, "Oh my God, you're American," and like I would much rather have that be my stigma, if you will, than the Black chick, right? So for me, like I don't know. I guess because I'm kind of tired of living here.
Yo, same.
Because of everything that's going on. I'm just like exhausted being here. But at the same time, it's like, where else really could we go that's not going to have similar, if not the same, issues, really? And that's just something that's been on my mind a lot recently. It's not really something you can do research on. It's like, you can't Google, like, where do black people get treated well? It's all relative to where you are and the people that you're interacting with, of course. But if anybody knows, let me know. Because I want to do some research. But really, I mean, that's really all I'm trying to say.
That is funny, because that is something that I've been thinking about very seriously within the past several months, because I too am sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so, I'm ready to get the fuck out. I'm ready to go. I'm tired.
Honestly, when I...
Yeah, I've been... is, I don't know, I feel like it's just alignment, because I had been thinking about that. And then someone I subscribe to on YouTube, she started an expat series where she too is sick and tired of being sick and tired and ready to get the fuck out. So I'm like following that. I've been like watching. She's done some.
Let me get that channel name.
It's Nappy Headed Jojoba.
You can send it to me later.
Oh
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my mom just sent me her channel the other day.
She's also like she was a hair channel, and then she stopped doing that because the natural hair community is a mess, and so she left, and now she does like social commentary, especially about like the black community and stuff like that, and she's great. I love her. But she started doing an expat series, and she has some friends who are expats, and they have 3 videos. So if you're like interested, I'll put her channel in the show notes, and there's 3 videos so far, and they're really good and informative, and they really talk about it's in the beginning stages of like talking about being an expat and like what that means and what that comes with and stuff like that. So that's been like super helpful, and I'm here for the journey. But I too am seriously considering moving out of this country.
There's one more piece I wanted to mention though before we go to Raven. I'm on this black. I got a couple Facebook groups that I'm a part of that do like black travel, just black people that travel, or enthusiasts or whatever. And one of the groups I'm in, I remember somebody posted an article, and it said, the article was something like, more black people are expatriating to different countries, than ever, and blah, 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 or preparing to whatever, talking about, just how over the course of the year things have changed, and a lot of black people, like how I feel, just aren't comfortable here, and they want to get a change of scenery and feel better. And I just remember somebody commented, and it was like, you have all these great comments. Everybody's like, oh, that's cool. And then you get that one person, and you're just like, bruh, come on. But he basically was like, oh, well, good luck to them, but you can't outrun your blackness. And I was like, oh, God. Like, girl, that is, I don't even know that. Like, that's so far from the point. Like, that's so far from the point. My thing is just like, my thing is like, I don't want to walk down the street and feel like anybody could come out of nowhere and knock the fuck out of me just because they want to. Yeah. I'm just nervous now. And I was telling my partner this. I'm just nervous. That's just on my mind constantly. Like, I don't really walk around with my headphones in anymore if I'm like running errands, walking up the street or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't do none of that shit anymore because it's just too much to worry about, right? So like, that's all I'm saying. It's like, it's not about outrunning your blackness. It's just about your own peace of mind. Honestly, or safety and security, or better opportunities to raise your family, like any of that stuff. Like, it could be anything, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about running away from how I look, because you really can't do that. But you can definitely, if you can, change your situation so it's less to worry about. But that's just what I'm saying. So sorry, Raven. No, please tell us, share with us.
You're fine. Yeah, no, like I totally understand that, and I think like even like on a simple level, like the difficulty of trying to explain to someone with a little more privilege, like the concept of a sundown city,
Whew.
is just like, and like things like that is just like you obviously just don't understand, and it's because you just like it just doesn't affect you personally in the same way that it does us, you know. Mm-hmm. But I will say like again, like I still have more growth and everything to do, obviously we all do, as a community, but I'm definitely doing a lot better now. I am way more accepting of myself and my likes and everything like that. Like I do consume a lot more like content by like Black creators and Black artists and stuff like that, and I love it, but same. I still love listening to country, and I'm okay with that, you know. And I do still have like predominantly white friends, but I also have like more Black friends. But one of the things I actually like about it is that, especially in the midst of everything going on right now, I use my relationship with my white friends to actually kind of like sit down and have that conversation. Just because like they want to understand, they want to be like, okay, I know this thing is happening and I know you guys are affected by it, but I truly don't understand why or how, like all of the different elements that go into it, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people that are arguing against everything happening and just against the progress we're trying to make still think that we're just mad about slavery.
I mean,
and it goes,
I still am.
So
like, I mean,
and again, it's not that like we're not mad about it, but it's like there's so many things beyond that, and there's so many things that happened as fallout from that and aftermath that it's like it's not even just that anymore.
It can't be.
And I feel like
it's so silly to think that.
and it's like being able to sit down, even if it's only with my little friend group, like being able to sit down and explain like this is at the very least my perspective. Like I still can't speak for the entire Black community, like no one can, but this is my perspective. This is what I personally experienced and saw, and what my family and my parents experienced, and this is why these things are an issue, and this is how it continues to affect our community. So I would say like in that sense, like I definitely have a bigger view now of all the things, like all the different elements that contributed to my viewpoints when I was younger, and I've changed a lot of those viewpoints now, thank goodness. And I think I'm now able to kind of use that experience and use the way I grew up and the way I felt about myself and my Blackness and my hair and my skin tone and like all that stuff. I feel like I'm able to use that more for like a force for good now, which I'm really happy about.
That was beautiful, guys. Yeah. So that's the end of our topic. Oh, that was good. I really like this conversation. Like
that was
I feel
good.
Like we got
deep.
We got
that was fun.
Real uncomfortable thanks to me, but that is my job.
Those were good questions. Definitely.
They were great.
So now we're gonna move into our last segment called "What's Got You Hot." We're gonna have a little jingle right here.
What's got you hot?
Yeah. So, what's got y'all hot this week?
Okay.
Raven, do you know what we're talking about? Or
yes.
It really, honestly, it could be something that pisses you the fuck off, but it also could be something really good, just as long as it's extreme to you at this time.
So, I'll go first. Amber.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, I stubbed my toe earlier.
Or, well,
like,
first
that's
of all,
not good
Amber,
enough.
I do actually
never have a What's Got You Hot, so there's that.
I'm thinking right now, I didn't have one prepared, but I will think of one before we finish this. Go ahead.
I do have a thing. I'm still unsure how I feel about it. Like, it's mostly negative. Still unsure how I feel about it. But have you guys heard of the new Netflix original Cuties?
No. Oh, God. Oh.
Yes.
So here's my thing. So I heard about it for the first time this afternoon. And
was it the D'Angelo Wallace video? I'm kidding.
No. I was just like...
He did put one out, though.
I was on one of those, like, meme site, like meme sharing sites or whatever, and someone talked about it like in the comments or something, and I had no idea what they were talking about. So, but I saw the comments just like, oh yeah, this is like terrible. Like, how's this even on Netflix? And I'm like, blah blah blah. And so I was like, okay, well, let me go watch it because I can't form an opinion until I have experienced it for myself. So I went to watch it, and I think it's like, so okay, I'm currently at like the hour mark. It's an hour and a half long movie. I'm currently at the hour mark. I know that there are more worse scenes in the last half hour of the movie than what I have seen previously. But honestly, my impression so far, at least of the first hour of the movie, is like, yes, this is bad, but it's bad in a way that sheds light on something bad already happening in real life. Like, because a lot of people's biggest complaints about it is like, oh, it like is sexualizing young girls, you know, these girls like doing like sexually explicit like dances and like all wearing like revealing clothing and stuff like that. And my thing is like, yes, but also I remember being in middle school and I remember seeing like explicit like music videos and stuff like that. Not necessarily like completely sexually explicit, but just things that a young child is not like, it's just grown women who are sexually active, expressing themselves and expressing their bodies in the way that they want to, in the way that an 11-year-old should not be. And to me, I feel like a lot of people have been saying like, oh, I understand that the point of it was to say that this is a bad thing, but the movie doesn't show it well. And I actually disagree. I actually think the movie shows perfectly how that sort of thing happens and how those girls are being encouraged by things that they're seeing in music videos and by popular artists and the encouragement that they're getting on social media and all types of things, and even from like other men around them in their lives who are not discouraging them from behaving this way. And granted, I do think some of the scenes are a little unnecessary, very unnecessary. And is it a little disturbing to watch an 11-year-old twerking? Absolutely. But it's actually happening in the real world. Like, there are 100% 11 and 12 and 13-year-old girls out there, like, watching these music videos and seeing these grown women who are sexually active expressing themselves and thinking, oh, well, like, I want to be a woman, like, like, this is what men find attractive, this is what men find sexy, this is what men enjoy, and they're looking at boys for the first time, like, they're interested in boys for the first time in their lives. They're like, I want boys to like me, I want boys to find me attractive, I want boys to find me sexy, and so they're just imitating those behaviors. And to me, like, while I do think it is disturbing to physically watch, I actually do think the movie expresses that very well. And so I feel like what's got me hot is the fact that a lot of people are criticizing and villainizing the producer of the film for showing it in the way that she did, without really thinking critically about the fact, like, all she's really doing is like showing or exposing the fact that so many girls around the world are already consuming this content and already behaving like this because of the encouragement they're getting from the world. So that's what's got me hot today.
I get you on that. I think my only point that would kind of skew things for me in the other direction is I think it's like right message, wrong medium, or wrong avenue. But
and I can see
with that being said, well, how else do you show something like that, right? Because it's extreme to the point where it's visceral. Like, I've seen, I couldn't get through the movie. I had to fast forward. I get to a scene, I'd be like, oh my god, and I keep fast forwarding. Yes. But I don't. It was hard for me to watch because all I could think about was the fact that everyone has access to this film, and a lot of the wrong people are probably watching that video or watching that film. And for every person like you who understands the message and, kind of in a way appreciates how it was portrayed, there's people who just are not doing the right thing with it. And that's what like makes me ill, like thinking about it. Because those actresses, they're 11 and 12 years old.
Yeah, like they actually are so children young. Portraying the characters.
They're so young. And it's not like, I think my thing too is like, they show them doing all that stuff. It's not just implied that they're doing certain things or doing certain moves or, it's like a close up of them dancing instead of showing their whole bodies and them twerking or whatever. That I think that's what really bothers me, because you have to get all of it. Like there was in the film, there's like really not a lot of examples where you don't focus on that happening.
Yeah, and that
was it's right there.
That is one of my issues. Like when I was saying, like there are definitely some scenes that's like, you didn't need to do that way. You didn't need to show that way. But I understand the message. But yeah, I can totally understand this. Like, this is not necessarily the best medium for this, but how else do you show it in a wide dispersion? Yeah.
I am not gonna watch it because I know that will be triggering for me. Just because I prefer not to watch those types of. I can't watch those types of things. It makes me really sad. And yeah. So, but D'Angelo Wallace, our favorite person, did a video on it, and he was pretty much like talking about the same thing, and I will say he was talking also about, he compared to, well, not compare, but he mentioned Precious and how the scene, like the visceral, those really hard scenes. I never watched Precious because that is also triggering, but he was talking about how a lot of the scenes that we know are supposed to be like hard and supposed to be like really like, oh my god, I can't believe this is fucking happening. Like, they did it in a good way, and the scenes that Cuties has could have been done the way the movie Precious portrayed, like those very hard and like raw scenes. So yeah, like I agree. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch the movie, but I agree with both points. I don't know like what is a good way to show people, hey, this shit is happening without, really hurting the actors or the actresses and, other people who who have been affected by this, like, and and stuff like that. So yeah, it's hard, but yeah, damn, yeah, but yeah, that movie is getting pretty controversial, and fuck Netflix for like really dropping the ball. I think a lot of it was just, seems like it was Netflix really dropping the ball on pushing that movie out, because like the descriptions and stuff like that, like they weren't really portraying the movie the way it needed to be. And
yeah, because the movie is portrayed as just like, oh, a group of young girls like wants to win a dance competition, and it's like, that is physically what happens in the movie, but that's not what the movie is really meant to be about. Yeah.
Even the trailer for it, I saw it maybe a couple weeks ago. It got I saw it on YouTube, it got a lot of negative attention, but watching the trailer versus watching the movie, there's so much that you don't expect from the movie, because in the trailer it's like, oh, they're cute and they're like shaking their butts around, whatever, but it's like, if that's like a level 5, like the movie is like 9 and 10 in some occasion. So yeah, I think they didn't do the right thing with the promotion, the way that they promoted it. Even the title card is like cuties. It's got this cute font and this like nice cool blue color.
Well, I will say it is translated from French. So yeah, so there's from French, yes. As well. But yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool. For me, it's got me hot. Couple of things. One, I think I constantly talk about taking a social media break, but I think I need to take like a permanent, semi-permanent break. I'm just tired. Like I think it's because of COVID and like everything going on. I'm very much like, oh, let me just sit down and just scroll on this never ending like social media thing and like just be inundated by all this information, good or bad or worse. And just, yeah, I gotta reevaluate my relationship with social media and just do some breaking up with my phone, because it's weighing heavy on me. So yeah. Other thing, tying into social media and how shitty the people are on there, can we just stop being mean to one another? I'm so tired. I'm so tired of the homophobia, the transphobia, the fat phobia, all of it. I'm just tired of it. Yep. I'm tired. Are y'all not tired of being shitty people?
I'm tired of those fucking Karen videos. It's like 20 new ones every day.
Are y'all not tired of being shitty people? Like, are you not tired of hating yourself? Are you not tired? I'm tired for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually don't want to understand. But I'm so tired. There's this person, their pronouns are they, them. And someone on like TikTok started bullying them for no reason. For absolutely no fucking reason. They don't know that person don't know them from nowhere. And just started bullying them on TikTok. And then now they're just getting all this hate. And it's just like, they were just making jokes like, oh, I think they were like, oh, like this person looks like this rapper from England or whatever. And now this person is getting so much hate for absolutely no reason. And it's like, and then now it's a whole back and forth of like, oh, like, well, let me like white people apologize, which means that I'ma say I apologize, but not actually really mean it, or say it in a way that sounds like you're apologizing. Like, I'm just, leave people alone. Like, y'all don't know how to leave people alone. Y'all don't, like, how does the saying go? If you have nothing good to say, don't say it at all. Like, I'm so...
Yeah, keep it moving.
I'm just so tired. Why do y'all love to be up in other people's business? That has absolutely nothing to do with you. And this kind of, like, goes back into, like, what we talked about earlier, like, jokes. Like, you don't know how to tell a joke without being racist, transphobic, homophobic, fatphobic. Right. You don't know how to do that.
Right.
If you're
that's all you have in your arsenal, right?
Making fun of people about things that they cannot control is not funny. Like, that shit is not funny at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. So like, so, yeah. That's what's got me hot. And, like, y'all can keep that shit. I'm just so tired. Like, so I'm so tired of it. I don't know. I think it's just, like, over exaggerated now because everyone's home. Everyone bored in the house, bored, which I get it. But, like, oh my God. Touch grass. Open the window. Like, I just...
Yeah, get like, some fresh air. Oh, it's making me crazy.
That's what's got me out.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that because, like I said, like, I go on, like, meme sharing sites and stuff like that a lot. And especially on certain ones, like, the amount of just, like, sexism, misogyny, racism, homophobia that you see on a truly hourly basis is ridiculous. And it's just, like, y'all can't, like, y'all just really out here hating women, hating Black people, hating anyone who is not straight and cisgendered. Like, I don't get it.
It's like, okay.
Like the crazy thing is like not only do I see hate for women, but I see hate for men that are nice to women. I'm just like, wait, what? It's wild. It's wild. It's all kinds of wild.
Well, okay, I did think of one because I had plenty of time to think about one. But I realized there was something that pissed me off yesterday that I will bring up. My thing that's got me hot right now is it's two things. One, they started like the fucking NFL. Why do you have the stands still full of people when you're saying like you want to do all this stuff to social distance or whatever, but you got people placed like literally every other seat? That's not gonna do anything. Especially when you have these thousands of people using the same toilet facilities, buying food, passing food over, handling money, all that stuff. Like, you're telling me that you're gonna prevent COVID from spreading by spacing people out every couple seats? Like, that shit don't work. So why is it even happening? And then they're like, what our money? Like, that's why you have a multi-billion-dollar industry, because you had all this time to make money. If you don't make money for 1 or 2 seasons, it is not the end of the fucking world.
Yeah.
The other thing that pissed me off though is I didn't know this, but so the Washington Redskins were obviously the existing name of the football team. I know they removed the name because of its connotation, but why is it taking them all summer to rename the team and they still don't have a name? You can't think of one. You can't think of one PC name for this team. So now it's the Washington Football Team. What kind of shit is that?
You know what? Honestly, I prefer it over the Redskins, so they can keep it.
Of course, but it's like, hold a fucking contest and name them the Washington Eagles or some shit. Like, I know obviously Philadelphia Eagles, but like, just think of some shit that's not. Yeah. It's not that fucking hard to have a decent name. So because everybody's arguing, yeah.
I was gonna say, worst case, like, write down a list of animals, cross out the ones that already have teams. Exactly. Pick what's left.
Washington Warthogs. I don't fucking know. Like, it literally anything PC. It literally all some, like, I just don't. Also, get it. I was like,
took them long to remove the name.
Go ahead.
So
yes, right, of course, that's bad in itself. But then it's like, okay, so you were quick to remove the name, piss off all your fans. That's great, but you can't replace it with a PC name. Why is that so difficult?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep. I don't know why it's so difficult for them to just pick a decent name.
I don't know.
Yeah, my headphones died.
Yeah, and it's just like Celeste was saying, like, you can't make a joke that's not racist, homophobic, sexist. Like, you can't pick a name that's not. You can't pick a noun in the English language.
That's what got me hot. Because I was looking at the racist, homophobic connotations. Exactly. I was looking at the scores. And I'm like, okay, Tampa Bay played. That was terrible. Tom Brady got traded, whatever. I don't really know too much about football. But then I was looking at the Eagles, and I'm like, what the fuck is this team? And then I click on it, because I saw the symbol in the W, but it didn't hit me until I clicked on it. It said Washington Football Team. I was like, they don't have a fucking name for that team yet? It's been months. Like,
yeah, no.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's like they're so scared to pick another name, they won't pick another name. But it's like we said, just write down all these fucking animals, cross through the ones that already exist as a team. I was talking to my mom earlier, and I was like, they should just name them the Washington Capitals. And I was like, oh, right, I don't watch hockey, so it's already the hockey team's name. So I don't know. But anyways, let's like literally just pick some generic shit like that and call it a day. But don't name it the Washington Football Team because you're too scared to make any moves on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyways,
shout out to them, because like, I don't make the money they do. So yeah, that shit is funny. I had a coworker that was like, I'm just going to still call them the Redskins. I was like, okay.
No.
That defeats the
Okay,
purpose.
whatever.
That defeats the
All
purpose.
right, cool. I don't care. I still get
That's
paid
stupid.
either way. Like, just no one needed to know that at work at all. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
I'm glad to know that you still racist. It's fine. You're also from the middle. You're also from Bumfuck.
I wonder if...
Ohio.
No, I'm not. I was going to make a joke. I was going to say, do they still call the southern states the Confederacy as well? So
Well, they're from Ohio, so Midwestern racists are kind of different.
don't matter.
Yeah,
They're their
they're
own
a
breed,
different breed of
honestly,
racist.
of racists.
I think it depends.
I live in the Midwest. They're pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't.
Pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe depending on where in the Midwest you're from, but like, yeah, the Midwest people I know, they're definitely the ones who are like, I don't know, like they're a different kind of country. Like, it's not Southern country. They're like a different kind of bumfuck nowhere country. Like,
it's way more hillbilly than
Yeah.
anything. That's true.
it's
That's true.
different. Yeah. So, yeah, but yeah, whatever. Okay.
Do we have any anything positive to end this on?
Well,
Damn. I was gonna end it right here.
No, I do have one.
Go ahead.
So, have y'all seen how like on Netflix they're adding a bunch of
the black sitcoms.
like a lot of like old school black like sitcoms, stuff like that. Girl, I have been binging Sister again for the first time in many years. And it holds up.
Oh yes, that's great. I saw they added Girlfriends as well, like last week.
Girlfriends,
I've been
Moesha, all of
watching
them.
Girlfriends.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't realize it came out in like 2007. I feel like that seems so late for Girlfriends.
Oh,
yeah.
that seems so.
I thought
Yeah,
it was an early 2000s show, but no, it came out in 2007. And first of all, can we just talk about Tracee Ellis Ross? I mean all of them, but
I love her.
Tracee Ellis Ross is just a beautiful woman. She is an amazing person.
I was gonna say Black don't crack because she still looks like she did
Oh my
15
God.
years ago.
honestly.
I want to be Tracee Ellis. Tracee Ellis Ross is definitely one of the few black women that I want to be like. She ain't got no kids. She ain't got no man. She just rich and living her life. And that...
Didn't she just
my
come out with
God,
a
I
movie
love it.
too, where she's like playing a pop star
yeah,
or
I
something?
didn't watch that. Yeah, it's some
really?
Apple TV,
Yeah.
Hulu movie, something like that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't watch that.
Yeah, no, she's crushing life right now.
Okay. So, anything else that we wanted to add in this episode?
No, I think we can wrap it up. I think we're good.
Yeah, I think this was definitely a really good discussion.
Yeah. This was great. This was the Slight Sarcasm podcast. I'm Amber. That's Celeste, and we also want to thank Raven for joining us this episode.
This has
you
been
can check
amazing. Thank you guys so much
Yeah,
for inviting me on.
Yeah.
No, thanks for joining us. You can check out Raven's podcast, Boozicles, with her co-host Campbell. We'll put the details in the show notes. But as always, we want to thank you for listening, and we hope y'all join us in the next episode.
If you want to email us at theslightsarcasmpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on all of our social medias. They will be in the show notes as well. And
We do have a website in the works. I already bought the domain, so I already bought the domain, so don't try to steal our domain. But yeah, I will be building the website and getting that up and running in the next couple weeks. So we'll have all of our stuff directed there as well as more information about us and some of the upcoming discussions and different things like that where you guys can interact with us.
Well, thanks, Raven, again.
All right.
See you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.